There's a story that often gets told when we talk about perseverance, and the story is that of the man who was looking for gold and he started digging to find the gold, and we see that picture of him just digging and then stopping at a certain point, and the goal is right next to the point where he stopped. It's like feet away from that goal, and we see him returning disappointed and giving up, and then somebody else comes and digs through the hole the same way he was doing and finds the gold that he was actually supposed to take claim of. So that story is often told when we talk about perseverance, about not giving up, but I want to associate it to what we're doing here, which is framing how we're going to complete our goals this year. So the idea for me is that it doesn't just speak to perseverance, it also speaks to your definition of progress and success. There's a difference between progress and success. And I think a lot of us often give up when it comes to our goals because we feel like we're not making any progress. We feel like we are wasting our time and we haven't made progress. So what is the point? Your perspective of progress, of success, will determine when you give up and how much you're giving up. So if you consider success to be one thing versus the other, that will allow you to determine whether you're going to keep going or whether you're going to stop. So decide ahead of time what your success factor will be. Decide ahead of time as you're planning your goals, defining your routines, defining your habits, setting in place systems that will allow you to track. That's why yesterday we talked about tracking, planning, reviewing, because these things that we're doing are going to be tracked. So we're going to have a picture of how we are carrying out these goals and following them and setting them and fulfilling them. But how are we going to define that we have been successful or not? If you remember in the beginning, we talked about our main aim and we talked about 3 priority outcomes that would tell us tangibly whether we're moving our aim forward or not. So those should give you a sense of what your definition of success is. But make sure that your personal definition of success is clear to you, because some people might feel like you're failing. And that's when we talked about the race, right? A couple of days ago, we talked about the race that we're in. We're not racing against other people. We are because we're in a race, but we're not because it's all in the mind. We're racing against our past selves and we're racing towards our future selves. We are doing it for us first. So we are the ones who define what success looks like, what progress looks like. So for each of your goals, each of your outcomes, each of the things that you want to become and accomplish this year, what does success look like to you? I'll give you an example. My definition of success for this series that I'm doing was to be done on January 31st and have posted 24 pieces of content. That was my definition after 4 weeks. That definition was different on day 1 than on day 31. So today, I also have a different definition of success. And that definition is a little more lenient because I realized what is actually more important to me. And what was important to me wasn't just finishing on January 31st. That was important, I can't deny it. But something that was more important to me was actually finishing. Starting something and finishing it. And that's why I'm still doing this and I'm continuing. And I plan on reaching the finish line, which is posting these 24 pieces of content, because that's my ultimate goal. So that's how I will measure my success. Now, my definition of success will be nuanced by the different steps, by the different accomplishments, right? Because the thing is, we define success as one holistic thing. But if you work in, my earring. So the other thing too is in defining success, we have to have different measures of it. If you work in any field that requires numbers, whether it's finance, accounting, data, you understand that a KPI, which is a key performance indicator, which is an indication of success, is a combination of multiple things. So your KPI is a number, but that number is represented by different elements. And when it goes into that number, when it's added, subtracted, divided, all those combinations or calculations you do go into your KPI. And then that KPI is a measure of what the goal should be. For example, if you have a KPI that's a number, if it's within 80 to 100% of your goal, then it's considered a pass. If it's less than that, then it's considered average. If it's less than a certain amount, then it's considered poor. We have to use the same principles when it comes to our lives. Even when you think about your credit score, one single number doesn't say a thing. There's a range. It's a range, right? If your credit score is between this and that range, then it's good. If your credit score is between this and that range, then it's excellent. We have to measure ourselves and measure our goals the same way. We have to be able to say, if I reach my goals, if I reach this, and that criteria in my goal, then I will have considered that I did excellent. If I do this, then I will have considered that I did good. And what's her name? I forgot her name. Mel Robbins. That's who I was looking for. Mel Robbins talked about that. She recently, well, I don't know if it's recent, but I think it's probably from either the end of last year or the beginning of this year. She posted a video talking about the essential things you need to know when planning your goals. And she talked about having an average. I gotta find that video. But so in the goals that we set, the idea is to think about what is our average and how do we label those averages? Like what's going to be excellent, good, very good outcome for ourselves. So if you're trying to lose 20 pounds, simply because you didn't reach the 20 pounds does not mean you didn't do good. You have to be able to say, if I lose between, I don't know, 16 and 22 pounds, then I will consider that I will have done good. If I lose less than 16, if I lose 10 to 16, then I consider that I did fairly good. If I consider, you have to have averages so that you can measure yourself accurately, because not reaching a specific number doesn't tell the whole story. You know the whole story. You know when you've had to push through. You know when you've had to make sacrifices. Even if the outcome of your goal doesn't reflect that, your assessment of success and progress should reflect that. So in everything you do, the idea today is for you to define what success looks like, and then what you're going to allow yourself, like what margin are you going to give yourself to be able to reach success, so that we don't do like that man who didn't consider, okay, I am going to give myself 12 months to dig through that hole. And until I reach those 12 months, I will not give up and I will not get tired, because I'm estimating that it will take me 12 months to get to my goal. He just went ahead and started digging, and then he got tired, and then he got discouraged, and he gave up because he didn't have a measure of what success would look like to him. He thought that continuously digging and not finding anything was not him making progress, but he was actually making progress. He was progressing towards the goal. He was progressing towards the gold. The goal and the gold. The gold was right next to him. Had he considered progress, the amount of digging he was doing, he probably would have reached that goal. But because for him, progress was just finding the goal, was just that one indicator that you have found gold, he never got to it. And he didn't think that he was making any progress. So we have to be clear about our definition of success, our definition of progress, and our definition of failure. We have to know what failure looks like. You might have been successful at a goal, but failed to do it while honoring your capacity. For example, for me, I will have succeeded with my goal because I will post all the content. So I will have succeeded at finishing something that I started, but I will have failed at planning, because had I been a better planner, I would have been done by January 31st. Had I had a smaller goal, I would have been done by January 31st. Had I considered the other aspects of my life, I probably wouldn't have decided to do a 24-day series. I probably would have started with a 1-week series. So that's where I think I failed. But having failed for that portion of my goal does not mean I'm failing at the whole goal holistically. So that's where we have to define what failure looks like. How would you define failure at the goal level? And how do you assess failure in the different elements of your goal? If you reach a goal, for example, if your goal is to lose 20 pounds, but you didn't lose body fat and you actually increased your body fat, or you didn't gain muscle, then is that still successful for you? If your goal is to lose weight, then you see the weight going down, but if it's just water weight, then you're going to gain that weight back. So are you really reaching your goal? Now, if your goal is just to fit in a dress for one single event and you want to continue on after the event, then yeah, losing 20 pounds is successful for you because you will have reached the goal. You will have fit in the dress and you will have looked good for the event that you wanted to look good for. But if you actually want to build muscle and lose the weight for, I don't know, the future years of your life, then success looks different, right? And failure looks different. So it's important to know how you define success and failure. If you lost weight, but you impacted your health, is that really a successful goal? Like, have you really reached your goal? If you lost weight by going to the gym 7 days a week, but you ignored your work life, your family life, your social life, have you really reached your goal of losing weight and being a whole person? Have you really had balance in every area? So that's why we need to look at the different areas of our lives, and we need to understand what we consider to be success, what we consider to be failure, and what we consider to be progress. Because as long as you're making progress, you should not be giving up on anything. Life is not easy. It's not simple. It takes a lot that we don't even know of before we get into things. Life will surprise us. So having a clear sense of what progress looks like to you will help you continue and not give up on your goals. So that's the homework for today. Defining success, defining progress, and defining failure, and understanding how those apply to each of the goals and outcomes that we've set for ourselves for the next 30 to 90 days. All right, so this is day 20. I will see you for the next day.